Can you maybe introduce yourself?
Yep, sure. Thomas Hand from Kibbutz Be'eri, the father of Emily Hand, who was kidnapped for 50 days and released. Actually, she's gone through 4 stages. She was dead, then she was missing, then she was hostage, and then she was released. I know many people that almost every day they would wake up, get a car from the kibbutz, go to the crossing, pick up people in need from Gaza, bring them to hospitals, care. We used to have workers from Gaza work on our kibbutz since childhood. They were like kids with their dads and they were friends. That was fine until we gave back the Gaza Strip, and then the Hamas were voted in by the people of Gaza, and from that point on we were just peppered with missiles. Like, it was like rain. Some days you'd just be running in and out of the bomb shelter all day long. But it was, nevertheless, absolute paradise. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conflict Voices, your go-to source for insightful discussions about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I'm your host, Asaf. Today, actually, we are pausing our regular episode run because of the last current event, and mostly because of the 4 refugees that came back from Gaza this week. And we have here a very special guest, Tom Hand, Emily's father. So first of all, thank you very much for taking the time and talking with us today.
Thank you for having me.
How are you? Is everything okay?
Yep. Everything's great. Emily's doing very well. I'm doing very well. My 2 older kids are doing okay. They've lost their mother, so, they're still grieving. Me and Emily are still grieving for her. But, it's hit them very hard.
Before we'll begin, maybe to discuss everything that we discussed, can you maybe introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thomas Hand from Kibbutz Be'eri, the father of Emily Hand, who was kidnapped for 50 days and released. Actually, she's gone through 4 stages. She was dead, then she was missing, then she was hostage, and then she was released.
How would you end this phrase? What, like you said, she was released eventually, and what about now?
Now she's we're getting on with life. We're doing everything possible to rehabilitate her, which is going very, very good. Unbelievable. It's the resilience of children. Hopefully they bounce back, and she's one of them that bounce back. I keep making a simile with a balloon filled with water. You can drop it on the floor. It's either going to bounce back or burst. And, thankfully she bounced back, as well as her friend Hila and Hila's mother. They're all doing very well. Some kids aren't doing so well. And she was only in for 50 days, which seemed like a lifetime. But, we're at 250 days now. You can imagine 50 days plus another 50 plus and plus. The trauma, torment that the actual hostages going through, and the families and friends of those hostages, it's overwhelming. It's very, very hard.
Yeah, I'm very happy to hear at least that you are bouncing back, or as you phrase it.
We're doing good.
And I would like to start this conversation even before the October the 7th. Yeah. I would like to, if it's okay with you, to discuss a little bit your life before October the 7th.
Okay.
I heard that you said from one hand, I imagine, that you lived in some kind of a paradise, that you found that Be'eri was a paradise. From the other hand, you lived in a war zone for the last more than a decade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, since the Hamas came to power in 2006, after we gave them a massive piece of land, the Gaza Strip. It's prime land. It's on the Mediterranean coast. They should have got on with their own life, build up a beautiful country. But that's not in their game plan. They don't want their own state. They just don't want Israel to have their own state. And that's it. I mean, a two-state solution will never work, because that's not what they want. They don't want their own state. They want the annihilation of the Israeli state. And that's never going to happen. So if you look at it that way, there will never be peace. There is no way that the people of Gaza, the Hamas, whoever's in power, the PLO, all of it, it's in their charter, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And that means the genocide of Israel. or what? The displacement of every Jew, Israeli citizen to somewhere else. And who else is going to take us? Nobody else is going to ever take us. So this is it. This is we're here. And that's the fight. It's the fight for survival. We're not going anywhere else. So get used to it. Live in peace with us. Or if you keep attacking us, you will pay the price. We will retaliate. That's what we have to do as a country, as a government. That's what any government or country would do. Get used to it.
But how was it to live under, I imagine, yearly fights and
right.
rounds and wars? How was it
Yeah.
to live in Be'eri before October the 7th?
Good. You have to keep me on track, because I never know what I'm going to say and I go off down a different path. Your job is to keep me on track. Thank you. How was it before the 7th? It was, like I say, absolute paradise. I came over 30 years ago in 1992, just for 3 months to be a volunteer, see another culture, see another country, work the land in, irrigation. It was fantastic. I woke up, I literally remember waking up the next morning. We arrived at night and opened the door. Beautiful sunshine, clear blue skies. You don't get that in England. It's very rare. Although with climate change, it's happening more and more. But in my day, 30 years ago, it was always raining, cloudy. So that was my first morning. Met a few people, very friendly, very nice. And the more I found out, the more I loved it. I found out that the kibbutz is a completely socialist movement, and it works. I don't think there's many places in the world that this pure socialism works. The CEO of the printing house, that's our main money. We make a lot of money on our printing house. And the CEO of that enterprise earns exactly the same as someone folding clothes in the laundry house, or the gardener. Everyone earns the same. And everyone's happy. It's an amazing concept. The person who wants to be the CEO of the company, he does it for himself. He does it for the kibbutz. It's his own ambition. It's for the greater good of the kibbutz. Everyone finds their own place. Just some handicapped, disabled people, and we find a place for them. There is always something, a job that somebody can do. It's amazing. And then I met Narkis, my future wife, deceased, unfortunately. But I met her. Gorgeous, beautiful, patient. Never heard her raise her voice since I met her. And that was it. That was the clincher. I knew I was going to stay. I knew about all the troubles. It wasn't so bad then. There was more the first Intifada type of thing where they were bombing buses, stabbings, early stuff, let's say. And then I still felt it was good. You felt a little bit safe taking a bus from the kibbutz to Tel Aviv, let's say, or Jerusalem. A little bit uncomfortable, but, you risk it. And that was fine until we gave back the Gaza Strip. And then the Hamas were voted in by the people of Gaza. And from that point on, we were just peppered with missiles. It was like rain. Some days you'd just be running in and out of the bomb shelter all day long. But it was, nevertheless, absolute paradise. Yeah.
Astonishing. Yeah. I wanted to ask you as well about, I read myself that a lot of people in the kibbutz were celebrating, for example, the Nakba with people from Gaza. Is it correct?
Oh, probably. I don't know. I can't remember what exactly the Nakba is.
Yeah, I imagine it's a unique question, but I read that a lot of people not just in Kibbutz Be'eri, but around the Gaza Strip, a lot of people hold pretty left-wing views. And there were, for example, people were helping Gazans to enter Israel and to go to hospitals, and people were, it's not celebration, but the Nakba, Yom Ha'atzmaut, our War of Independence, is the Arabs' Nakba. So people were going to events and for memorial days and basically join the Arabs from Gaza to again, celebration is not the right word, but to mention this day.
Yeah, I'm absolutely sure of that. Believe it or not, I'm not very political, and I don't know much about that. But I know many people that almost every day they would wake up, get a car from the kibbutz, go to the crossing, pick up people in need from Gaza, bring them to hospitals, care. Yeah. We used to have workers from Gaza work on our kibbutz since childhood. They were like kids with their dads, and they were friends. They weren't the enemy. They were people, normal people. And when things got terribly bad, we had to protect ourselves, and we couldn't invite them anymore, even though we felt no threat from them individually. Generally, we had to stop them all coming.
You speak about after October the 7th, right? When things got bad?
No.
October or before?
Before.
Even
before. Yeah.
When? What happened?
A year. When the bus bombings really started.
Around 2000, like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
24 years ago.
Yeah. We couldn't accept more anyone coming from Gaza to work in our kibbutz. It was
risky.
Not so safe.
What was the general views of the people in the kibbutz on the conflict, on the Gazans back then?
General view is, why can't they just live in peace? Why can't they just let us live in peace? Like I say, it's a prime piece of Mediterranean land on the coast. With the amount of money, the billions of dollars that have gone into that tiny little strip of land, they could have made a paradise 5 times better than what Israel has done, better than Tokyo, better than Dubai, anywhere. The amount of money that's gone into that piece of land is it's untouchable. But what did they do with it? They didn't they didn't use the money for the improvement of their people, the improvement of their country, infrastructure, schools, hospitals. They just turned it to war, buying missiles, building tunnels. I mean, when you look at the tunnels, you think, oh, yeah, it's a tunnel. But the amount of money and work hours to build a tunnel, especially the size of what they've got. They say it's the size of the London Underground. That's a hell of an accomplishment. If they had turned that workforce, that money, that ability into going upwards instead of downwards, subterranean world, my God, those people, the people of Gaza would be living in luxury. They'd be driving around in Mercedes, Jaguars, any luxury car that you can think of. But the leaders, previously the PLO, the Fatah, PA, and then the Hamas, have never wanted their people to live comfortably. They've never wanted them to live comfortably, even safely, securely. No, they want them poor. They want them hungry. They want them angry, because they make the best fighters. They're willing to fight. If they're living in the lap of luxury, which they should be, they're not going to want to fight. That's not how you get people to fight your wars for you. Shame.
Yeah. Going back to the question of Be'eri before the war, what did Emily think or learn about the Gazans or the conflict?
Right. I got Emily when she was 2.5. Her mother came to live with me, and she had cancer. So I wanted them to live with me for many reasons. But anyway, the very first lesson that I taught her at the age of 2.5, I would bring her to the playground, and we'd be playing. And then I'd say, we've got a new game. And I'd show her the Mamad bomb shelter, and I would make the sound of Saber Adom, like with my hands. Saber Adom, Saber Adom. Okay. Yes. Whoever gets to the bomb shelter inside wins. And we did that repeatedly until as soon as she heard Saber Adom, Saber Adom, she'd stop whatever game she was doing, swing, slides, doesn't matter, and run to the Mamad. Lesson number 1. Crazy that you have to teach a kid something like that, but that was the first lesson, yes. As for in school, she was too young. She's only 9 now, so they don't talk too much politics, I guess. But the radio generally is on, so subconsciously, I'm sure they're picking up a lot of information. Yeah.
By the way, Tzeva Adom, for the audience, I imagine it's the sirens. It's the sounds of the sirens when.
Oh yeah, the word Saber Adom is color red.
Yes.
Emergency. Start running.
We have it in Tel Aviv as well. I'm from Tel Aviv, and we had it several times. A lot, not several.
Yeah. The difference between Tel Aviv and Kibbutz Be'eri is we have 11 seconds and you have, I don't know, a minute plus.
Yeah, more than a minute, I imagine. But we still need to run, but not as fast as you probably. You need to be...
Yeah. Oh, you need to be immediate. Yeah. You need to react.
Can you maybe tell me what does Emily think about the Gazans now? If she shares anything with you?
Right. Well, she doesn't like them very much. She certainly doesn't trust them very much. She knows they lie, the Hamas. You know, the Hamas have said that they've killed certain people, and then later on they've been released. It's just more torture, mental torture. war games in the brain. And she's aware of that. When she found out that Itai Swirsky was killed, she didn't believe it. She didn't want to believe it. She said, no, it's just another one of their tricks, another one of their games. So, yeah.
What did she say, if you can share? What did she say about Gaza or the conflict or anything?
She's too young. She really is too young to discuss anything like that. She can only discuss her personal, what happened to her. She doesn't know about politics or has no opinion about the people of Gaza. She just the only people she's come in contact were Hamas terrorists. So it's not a great view.
Experience, although it's not funny.
No.
Can you share what does she say in general? You said that she says different things, or it's too private for this conversation?
It's a
Did she
little
share
bit
anything
private
with you?
Yes, she shared little snippets with me. She shared more with her older sister. My Hebrew's not great. Her English isn't great, so she can flow a little. She can flow more with her older sister in Hebrew. Her friends, I'm sure, know much more than me or my eldest daughter, because they talk. They have no borders. They don't have anything like that. Whereas I have to be careful. The hospital, when she was first released, the psychiatrists said, don't interrogate her, don't question her, even though it's the most burning question to a parent, to find out what happened to you. What did they do to you? How were you treated? How did you feel? He couldn't answer. He couldn't ask any of that. They said, just whatever she comes out with, you have to be happy with that.
Wow, it's probably incredible. It sounds very hard, I imagine.
At the beginning, it was very, very hard, because you're dying to know. You're dying to know her, what she went through, how she suffered, how every day was, how did she go to the toilet? How did she shower? How did she eat? How was she treated? 1,000,000 questions. And you're not allowed, really. Very hard.
Can you share how she is in general? I heard that you said that she went back to whispering and she's crying herself to sleep.
Yes, that was in the early days, for I'd say at least a month. Yeah, the whispering was the most. It was the biggest indicator of how terrified she was, because they told all the hostages under the threat of a knife being killed, be quiet, uskut, be quiet, or you will be killed with this knife. We'll kill you with this knife. To an 8-year-old child, and Hila, was she 13? Women. Don't know if you can imagine. Put yourself in that position of some guy coming up to you in broken Hebrew, broken Arabic, broken English. Be quiet, like no more than a whisper, or you will be killed. As an adult, that's frightening. And she had to do that for 50 days. And the rest of the hostages have had to do it now for 250 days. Their recovery is going to be a mountain to climb.
Can I ask about her hobbies? What were her hobbies before the October the 7th? And what's going on?
Yes. She was a very active girl, very physical. So she did judo for many years. And what's that Brazilian one? Capoeira she did. She'd done a bit of football. I think her next venture was volleyball. That's what she wanted to do. She tried tennis for a bit. Yeah, all fun physical activities. But at home, she's very intelligent. She's good with cheshbon, with mathematics. Very good with the language. Yeah, so she used to. Great. Yeah. We go horse riding now. We did that from very, very early on, from the beginning, when she was strong enough to leave the house. It's a major. I recommend it to anyone. Horse therapy for trauma. If you can imagine, she was 50 days held by about 3 men, generally 3 terrorists, armed, of course, and they took away every liberty that she had. To go to the toilet, they had to ask permission. To actually physically go to the toilet, they had to do it with the door open and the man, strange, terrifying man, looking at them. For a guy, it's not too bad. Just turn your back and have a pee. A girl, not so easy. Showering, they didn't get showers. They had a basin of lukewarm water and a rag. Raya, the mother of Hila, would wash them down. Raya was our angel. She became, in a way, Emily's third mother. Like, Emily had her biological mother. Then she had my ex-wife as a role model, as a mother figure. Like, she was killed, like I say, but when Emily was in Gaza, Raya took on that role for Emily, looking after her, making sure she got fed as much as was available. Yeah.
Do you know, by the way, maybe from Raya, if they saw the protests in Israel while being in there?
No. They wouldn't have seen the protests. No. Yeah, I haven't had any information from Emily on that one or Raya. It hasn't been a question in my head, really. But I would say maximum there might have been a radio. They might have heard something.
I'm just asking because the last 4 hostages say that they saw those protests from Gaza.
Wow. Yeah. Well,
a lot of strengths.
Right. Oh, great. I haven't heard that. So that's makes a bit of sense because their captors were a doctor and his son, I believe, who was a journalist, photographer for Al Jazeera. So yeah, they were probably in nice flats with a television. Emily wasn't in that position, but yeah, that's quite incredible, isn't it? Watching television in a doctor's house. Probably worked for UNRWA. I don't know.
I think he was. What do you think about it? About the fact that a journalist holds captives?
Yeah.
And by the way, while holding those captives, he was publishing a lot of articles for how miserable their lives is in Gaza.
Really? Wow. Well, he was a witness. He had first-hand knowledge. He was using his job as a source. Nice one. Nice one. Thank God the doctor didn't do any operations or experiments like Mengele. Could have happened. But yeah, good for him. Wow, you're giving me incredible news. That's great. Yeah. That was a different class of captor. Certainly not Hamas. Citizens, the Palestinian, Gazanian citizens, the peaceful ones, held them captive for 250 days. Yeah. The Hamas held Emily, and that's Igioni. It makes sense. But for Palestinian citizens to hold hostages for the Hamas or for their own gain is another ball game, another level altogether. And it sort of makes you question, who are the innocent people of Gaza? Are there any innocent people in Gaza? Or are they all, my opinion is, they're all brought up as Jew-hating, Israeli-hating, Zionist-hating people. They're brought up with hate. They're brought up with hate. It's from the cradle to the grave. They're brought up with hate from their mother's milk. They have no other choice. That's the only sympathy I have for them, that they have no other choice. They're brainwashed. They're indoctrinated. They're they're given an ideology. That's their box. That's their world. They have no other choice. And that is sad. That is extremely sad in itself. And because of that, there will not be peace. That, first of all, has to change. Let's say it changed overnight. Okay, no more spreading hate, no more indoctrination, no more anything. Let's just bring up a child how a child is supposed to be brought up. That's still going to take, that indoctrination is still going to take generations before it subsides, if ever. So, yeah, in my opinion, there is absolutely no hope for peace with our neighbours. There's no hope. We can give them a piece of land 4 times bigger than the Gaza Strip. Here you go. There's your Palestine. You have your state. I don't believe for 1 second that the war would be over. That would not solve anything. They would just have a bigger infrastructure, a better infrastructure. There'd be more money poured in. And they're still not going to put it into developing their own country or making their citizens better off. No, they'll have a better war machine. And that's a dangerous prospect.
I do have a question about what you just said, but will you come back to live in next to the Gaza Strip?
After
what you say?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You'll go back to live like 20 kilometers from those, or less, like probably 1 or 2 kilometers.
13. I'm not sure to the fence, but to Gaza City, I think it's 10 kilometers. The fence would be closer, obviously. Let's say, I was at the Nova Festival the other day because I hadn't visited there yet. It was too dangerous. It still is. There was a lot of bombs going off and gunfire, but never mind. I had to do it because I had a few friends died there. Visit where they fell, exactly. There's a post in the ground. And there's a map there, and it showed that the Nova Festival is 2 kilometers from the Gazan fence. We're very, very close. But yes, in answer to your question, 75% of the kibbutz has voted to go back to our new next destination, which is a kibbutz in Kibbutz Chatzarim in the south, near Be'er Sheva. It's right next to Air Force Base, the IDF Air Force Base. So, that'll give us a great deal of feeling of safety. And then that's 75%. So it's a good indication that 75% of the kibbutz want to go back to live in Be'eri. I certainly do. It's my dream. It's the dream of a lot of us, the majority of us. Go back to paradise. Sorry?
Yeah. Just to make sure that I understand, you say that 75% voted against going to Hatzerim.
No, 75 and voted to go to Hatzerim, yes.
But it means that you won't go back to Be'eri. It's another place.
It's our next destination. It's another step on the way to going back to Be'eri. We can't go back to Be'eri yet. It's still devastated. There's still only a couple of days ago we went back to watch the destruction of where Narkis used to work, her little office building. The process of destruction, demolishing is still ongoing. And that has to continue for, I don't know, a year at least, I'd say, before they even start constructing. So we're going to be in Hatzerim for at least 3 years. If it comes any quicker than that, would be a miracle. But let's say 3 years' time when Be'eri is rebuilt anew. We then have to look at the state of the government of Israel, the state of the army of Israel, and the state of the Hamas. And we have to look at those three conditions very, very carefully before we could think of moving back to Be'eri. We have to feel 100% secure sleeping in our beds, sleeping in a house with our kids in their beds. There cannot be any risk of that ever happening again. And that totally depends on our government, on our army, and the state of the Hamas.
I just didn't understand that it's temporary, the Hatzerim thing. So now I understand.
Yes, it's a temporary step. It's our next step.
Yeah.
We're scattered all over the country. The main population of Kibbutz Be'eri is in the Dead Sea area, in hotels. There's people in Tel Aviv. We're scattered all over the place, all over the country. So hopefully before the beginning of next year, we will all gather back. 75% of the kibbutz will go to Hatzerim, temporary building, what they call them, caravilot. Be better than a hotel. And we will live as a community. That's the main thing. We'll live as a community again. They'll have a school to go to together. We'll have a dining room, I'm sure. We'll be able to cook. We'll be able to cook again. Living in a hotel, you don't have cooking amenities. That's a funny thing to miss. To some people it's a chore, it's a job. But no, to have the availability, the access to be able to cook your own meals is it's a luxury. It's something we miss a lot.
I want to take you back to what you just said about the Nova Festival. How does it make you feel? I imagine that you saw the female soldiers that were in Hamas captivity as well. The video that got released recently. And the Nova Festival. How does it make you feel to know that your child was in Gaza for so long with those people?
I guess it's Irish luck. Everything that happened to Emily, even though at the time it felt awful, it was devastating, it was life crushing. it all added up to us getting her back. The information that she was dead, that was awful. But then when we found out she wasn't dead, that just made it viral in the media, which in itself helped to get her back. Yeah, if she had been one of the other hostages that were simply taken hostage, it's still a big thing. But the fact that she was found or thought to have been dead, killed, and then not dead, that just made it absolutely viral. And that in itself really helped our cause to get her back. Because for one thing, I went on a big campaign in Ireland, America, London, and I was able to push the fact that Emily was Irish, an Irish citizen, and they had to have seen it or heard of it on the news. At least the leaders would have, maybe not her own captors, but I believe that helped save her. Because as we've now seen how friendly the Hamas are with the Irish government, so they wouldn't want to have annoyed their friends. You know, annoy your enemies, Israel and whoever they considered their enemies, but don't mess with your friends. So I think that played a big part in us getting her back. Yeah.
By the way, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the Prime Minister of Ireland, I think, was speaking about Emily. You know that he said that a child was lost. Like, do you know it?
Yeah.
And McGregor answered, so it was a big thing. Yeah. What can
and
I say?
that's a terrible shame, because I keep telling people whenever I can in the media, as much as you wouldn't believe it, he was instrumental in getting her Emily back. Let's say a month in, he had already visited Qatar at least twice. He'd visited every Arab nation around us. They really worked hard. They were very concerned about getting their Irish citizen back. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. We'll tag maybe Conor McGregor to let him know he was mad.
Oh, I love that man. But yeah, instead of what he could have, instead of saying she was lost and then found like a bad penny or a sheep or something, she wasn't lost. We knew exactly where she was. She was kidnapped by the Hamas. She wasn't lost. We knew where you were. That's not lost. And found? Yeah. Ridiculous statement. Terrible statement for a politician to come out with. But he's a politician. And he didn't want to lose the votes of the Israelis or the pro-Palestinians or the Muslims. And so, yeah, unfortunately, he sat on the fence and came out with some garbage. You know, really BS. Whereas he could have been, well, he could have looked like one of the greatest politicians. And I would have backed him up. I would have, it's really hard to say. If you can imagine, I know what he did behind the scenes. What politicians do behind the scenes is not what the general public, they're not what the voters ever see. But what he did behind closed doors was immense. And he had help from other people. There's one person in particular, and I must find out if I can reveal in the future what she did. She was very instrumental in getting her back as well.
Thanks for sharing. It is important to know the real facts behind the scene, I imagine.
Yeah. But yeah, then when they went on to recognize Palestinian state.
Yeah, right. I was living in Dublin, by the way. I think I told you.
Yes, yeah.
So I heard a lot of those kind of.
I mean,
talks.
It's if it's not rewarding sheer terrorism, it's accepting it. It's condoning. That's the right word. It's condoning terrorism. If not rewarding, I believe it is rewarding. It's like, yeah, if you kill enough people, over 1,000, 200, and kidnap as many people as you can, babies, children, women, innocent civilians, you can get a reward. Incredible. I still don't believe it. Spain, I understand. They've always been anti-Semitic, as you say. Norway? What the hell is Norway? I mean, out of the blue, I've heard Norway used to be quite a good country. Even, quite nice to Israel. But then where the hell does this come from? I guess that's, it just shows you how good a job on the media front, on the propaganda front, that the Arabs are. They beat us 30 years ago at least with propaganda. They're the best. Yeah. They've got the money. They've always put the money into it. They're not as stupid as people think. Yeah. They're not as primitive as people think.
We are jumping between topics.
I'm fine with that if you are.
Yeah, no, you're amazing. I just wanted, going back to the current events that just happened. Did you see the video of the hostages that got back to their families this week?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How did it make you feel?
I literally couldn't stop crying all day long. Like I'd have a thought of, wow, we got four more back, and just burst. Very emotional. And, you'd recover yourself, and then another thought would hit you, and just happy emotions. It was a massive moral boost to the country. And in a way, I didn't feel it or see it at the time, but it must have been the same emotional boost when Emily came back, and the rest of the hostages, everyone that must have come back, must have been a big cheer in the country. Of course, I wasn't involved in that. I was just focused on Emily, trying to get her back and hoping that she'd come back. So I missed all that. It was only when these poor hostages came back, I felt that emotion. Incredible. Video of the soldiers going in and finding them.
As well.
And my God, you can see how terrified they are. They didn't know if they were Hamas coming to kill them. Like, they're crunching up. They're thinking, this is our last moments. God knows what's running through their heads. My God. And then to come back to your family. Wow. And it was Noah's father's birthday. What a gift. Unfortunately for, one of the hostages, the father died, hours before. He died believing that his son was still as a hostage under awful conditions. That's not a happy way to go, is it? Can you imagine? Just like 12 hours later, maybe, he could have gone off in peace. At least Noah's mum will have some peace. Yep. Her mum could go to her grave happily now, because she hasn't got long. Thank God for small miracles. I'm going to have a little break.
Okay, we just took a small break after speaking about Noah and all the other hostages and their families.
Yeah, an emotional break.
Yeah, I needed one as well. What do you have anything to say, for example, to Noah's parents or to any other of those parents that just received their children?
Mazal tov.
Any suggestion? I imagine that as a parent that received, do you have any tip maybe or anything to share?
Yeah, I've said it in other interviews. It's for Emily, at least, it was incredibly important to try and bring them back to reality, their old life as easily as possible. One of the biggest things for Emily was sushi. She loves sushi, and you can imagine she was literally starving when she came out. And so the first thing we got her was sushi. Just try and gather around her everything that they love. For Emily, again, it was our dog, Johnsy. Our one's Johnsy. Natalie has Schnitzel, but I insisted to the army that Johnsy would be with me when Emily was literally handed over to me and our dog. It's a thing of, it's pure love both ways. Because I wasn't able to protect her on that day, and because I wasn't able to go in there and rescue her for 50 days, I really thought that she would have been not liking me very much. You know, where's my dad? Why isn't he coming to save me? So you would think a normal thought of a child. So I wanted our dog to be there because that she would be really totally happy to see our dog. She might not have been so happy to see me. You know, where were you?
You were really honestly afraid that she wouldn't be happy to see.
Oh yeah. I thought she might have given me the cold shoulder a bit. Yeah, there was a few misconceptions that I had. First was that I thought for 100% that she would have been down in the tunnels, because that's where the Hamas would keep their valuable bargaining chips. They would be protected with the Hamas down in their tunnels. That wasn't the case. She was above ground for the whole 50 days, running from house to house under fire. That wasn't the Hamas. You know, the Hamas took the hostages straight down. Same with Noah and the other 4 guys. That wasn't Hamas. That was civilians. So that was my first misconception. The second misconception was that maybe they wouldn't have much food to give to the hostages, but they had loads of food. There was no need to starve them or deprive them of water or give them biuv water, drain water. They said it stank. It stank. They had to drink it in the end. The last misconception, which was the biggest one and the biggest relief to me, was she wasn't sitting there in the hands of the captors, kidnappers. She thought that I was either dead or captive myself, because that's what she saw as she was being taken away. That she would have been taken away by the Hamas and then handed over to someone else. So all that guilt, all that guilt for 50 days, 2 months almost, just disappeared. Kilo, she thought I was either dead or kidnapped. I hadn't imagined that. And that's why I brought the dog.
By the way, about the dog, I just told you before the episode that I just have something to give you. So a good friend of mine prepares, because of your dog, because of Jonesy, she started to prepare those kind of free the hostages, I don't know, thing for like, dogs and cats.
Like a collar.
Yeah, like a collar. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'll add a link in the description of this video. I'll if you want, I'll send you one. It's especially for you. She started to do it because of Jonesy, for your information.
Great idea. I'll happily put that on Jonesy.
Yeah, amazing.
And if he doesn't want to wear it, I'll wear it.
Maybe we'll start to do things for
I mean, these tiny little yellow ribbons that we have, that the politicians, if you look, don't wear. Look at the politicians. They don't wear them. Every presenter on the television wears a ribbon or the bracelet.
Yeah, of course.
Or the disc. There is a connection. There is a thought process. There is a remembrance, a memory of the hostages. Go and look at any footage you want. They're all there in their nice suits. Very rare. That's the disconnect. Seriously, I'm amazed by it. I'm shocked by it that they don't wear a ribbon. Every single one of them, daily, in public, on television. Who's that? Who are their advisors? Sure, you wear your ribbon, but it shouldn't be up to an advisor. I have a process. I know I go on. We can do another interview some other time if we run out of time. I have a process. The first thing at the end of the night, I take off this band. It's got writing on it. I make sure I put it on the desk next to my bed, and I make sure that the writing is the right way up. Then I take off my disc, and I dangle the disc inside. Sounds crazy. I dangle the disc and place it inside the circle of this, but I don't just drop it. I make sure that there's one side blank and one side with writing. I make sure that it falls with the writing facing up, and then I release the chain. It is a ritual. It's my ritual, my personal ritual, remembering all the dead and all the hostages that are still there. When I pick that up in the morning, I take the chain out of the band and I put it on. I make sure it faces the right way. I make sure it's always facing out. And then I put on the band with the writing facing out to the world. That's my ritual. That's my homage to the dead and the captives. And those politicians can't even put on a yellow ribbon. How dare they? I feel very strongly about this. That's how much they care. Seriously, that is a sign. It's an indication to me and the rest of the country and the rest of the world how much they really care.
What do you think? What would you expect from the politicians? What would you expect, by the way, regarding the operation in Gaza and the release of the hostages?
Okay, what do I expect from the politicians? I expect them to at least wear a ribbon. It's to show that you're thinking about them. You know, dead and alive. The people that we have dead and alive. Show me that you're thinking about them. I expect them, obviously, to do everything they can to get the hostages back. I expect them to build a good government. I expect them to build a good army. I mean, the top echelon of the army. They let us down. They let us down drastically.
I wanted to ask you about another thing. maybe last question. You were speaking about the footages or the video of the soldiers entering those rooms with those hostages of us, the Israelis. I would like to ask, what do you think, first of all, about those footages? And first of all, what do you think?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, you felt like you were going in with them, almost like at one of these video games, but it was real. And they went in. Wow, brave soldiers. We lost another hero.
Wow.
No, do you notice how we don't call them a martyr? They're a hero. They're a normal human being. They've gone in, they've done their duty, they've saved life and died saving lives. They call someone who goes on a murder spree and dies in the process a fucking martyr. You can edit out the fucking, but they call that a martyrdom. That is the difference in our psyche, in our ideology, our makeup as a human being. We call a person saving another life a hero. They call someone murdering on a murderous campaign, dying in the process, a martyr. Go figure.
Have you seen the number of casualties in this operation, the Israeli operation in Gaza? And all the criticism.
Totally? Overall?
No, sorry, yeah. So there are a lot of reporters and criticism against basically the number of casualties in this operation. The rescue
to the people of Gaza?
Yes. If I'm not wrong, more than 200 Gazans were killed. What do you think about the criticism, most of all?
About the criticism? That's always going to happen. Doesn't matter what we do. We went on a heroic mission, saved lives, people who were kidnapped by terrorists. We saved them. Okay, there were some civilians, let's say peaceful civilians. I don't know who's peaceful anymore after knowing who were their captors. And the soldiers certainly don't know who's peaceful and who's Hamas. But if you're in the area of a house that is holding hostages, I'm sure everybody in the street or the surrounding area knows exactly what's happening. If you want to put yourself there, you're going to get consequences. Unfortunate, but that's reality. That's war. In every single war that we've ever had, we've had friendly fire, deaths of our own. The Americans had it in the Desert Storm. It happens. It's war. Terrible consequences. So don't start a bloody war in the first place. There was peace on the 6th of October for at least a year and a half to 2 years. They were quiet. Why were they quiet? They were planning. They were exercising. They were gathering terrorists. They were gathering. It's a long process. That's not a phone call overnight. Let's go, lads. No, that takes months of preparing.
Preparing, yeah.
And it's the most overcrowded prison in the world, so I'm sure everybody knew exactly where the hostages were and who they were. So, you want to be a human shield? Be my guest, but don't come crying to me afterwards. Don't come crying. Inform the Israelis. Let us know. Then get out of the area. Let us come in and save them. I'm terribly sorry about it, but that's war.
You say that the people that were living next to those hostages probably knew about them, and you expect them to tell the authorities or to tell the Israelis about it. By the way, those hostages were placed in the middle of a market. So probably makes sense that people knew about it. And obviously it was on purpose, because the market, as you probably know, it's a crowded place and it's going to be much harder to rescue them.
Oh yeah, that's. They deliberately put them in densely populated areas so that there would be casualties if we made a rescue mission. That's their what they call it, operation mode operandi.
Strategy, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's say it's a community, it's a village. It's no different from a kibbutz, let's say. I know I know everything that's happening to every person around me on the kibbutz, and we're 1,000 people. We get news of a woman being pregnant sometimes before the father gets news of it. It's that intimate. And I'm sure it's no different in the market area. Yeah, everybody knows everybody's business. Something like that could not have been hidden. They would have been all going, woo, yeah, she's in our area. Noah's in our area. Yeah. So get out of the area, man.
It is interesting. Yeah. Do you have any final, again, we're discussing a lot of different topics, but any final words, I imagine, for the hostages that got released, for the ones that are still in there, or anything else that you...
To the hostages that got released, take your time to adjust. Soak up the love of your family and your friends and the country. Come back to recovery. Come back to reality, normality. But don't be in a rush. It's a slow process, especially after 250 days. Look after your health, look after your mind. We're waiting for you to come back properly. To the people still with loved ones in there, this is a sign of hope. This is a sign that it's still possible, because after 250 days, you can imagine, you start to give up hope. You start to think, well, there can't be anybody coming out. We started off with 250 hostages. There's only 120 now. Some released, some not. I'm sure the hostages themselves must be giving up in their mind. Only the strong will survive. Just like in Auschwitz, really. If you were weak, physically or mentally, you would perish. And only the strong survive. So if the hostages would ever hear something like this, then keep going. We're coming. We are coming.
Those are very strong words. And thanks again for taking the time and being with us and being so open. You're amazing.
Normally after somebody would say something like that to you, you'd go, it was my pleasure. But our whole way of life has changed. Just the statements, stupid statements like, your daughter's dead. Yes. She was only there kidnapped for 50 days. These are statements that are just out of normal context of life. And yet there they are. There's so many stuff that goes on in my head that you think, this is just unreal. And what is even worse, in reality terms, is what the rest of the world are saying to us and about us and what we're doing. Why are they not talking about what they have done? They started it. We are retaliating. We want peace. The whole of Israel wants peace. Let's go for it. Let's do it somehow. It'll never happen. But there's got to be a better solution than this. Certainly don't invade a country stronger politically, militarily, spiritually than you. Don't invade it. You will suffer the consequences and then cry to the public who seem to eat it up. That is, I think, the most shocking thing, that the world, most of the world, supports the Hamas, supports what they've done, and rejects what we are doing. We're only trying to survive. That's all we're doing, trying to survive. And we will survive. We have to survive because, as people say, we got no other choice. They have a million choices. Get out of Gaza. Go to Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, anywhere you want, bloody want, if they'll take you. Because unfortunately, you lot are troublesome people. Nobody wants you. But we've looked after you, literally looked after you with electricity, water, food, provisions, the concrete that you built your tunnels with. Where does that come from? Egypt? The Arab countries? No. It comes from us. We are idiots. That has to stop. Egypt, if they didn't want us at the beginning, starting in the north of Gaza and going through the country towards Egypt, and then Egypt's going, oh, you're the bad people, you're going to annihilate, you're going to genocide the people of Gaza. Well, all you have to do is open your border, open your little gate, and let, 1, 2, 3 million in? Give them refuge. Don't complain to us about it. It's in your hands to save them. It's in your hands. But don't condemn us for doing what we're doing when you're not doing what you should have done for the last 75 years. It's all ridiculous. I'm sorry. It's ridiculous.
Those are very strong statements, but I think that's the reason basically that we started this podcast and this channel. We are going to dive deeper to understand all of those subjects that you mentioned.
Great.
And
I
do think, sorry.
No, you go.
No, I just say that in my opinion, it's not even about retaliation. It's mostly about one side that want to have peace and negotiates and offers things all the time, and the other side just doesn't want it. Which is, I'm open to hear their point of view and everything, but
since 1947. Since 1947, they have been offered time and time and time again. In the 1947, they would have got half the land of Israel. Half. Have you? Yeah. No. Because again and again, I have to say, it's not about them having their own land, their own state. It's that they don't want us, the Israelis, the Jews, to have any state whatsoever. That is the crux of the problem.
Those are very interesting things, and probably I would love totally to invite you again to discuss after all of those things will happen again, probably on hopefully not October the 7th, but we are going to give them probably more concrete and more electricity.
Well, the Holocaust would never happen again, never again. And here it is. And there's been many atrocities before the Holocaust, not on such a great scale, but it is the destiny of the Jewish people. The world hates the Jews for for God, whichever God you choose. The world has always hated the Jews. God knows why. They've given everything in the past and now, medicine, technology, the Arab nations, all of them put together. They've given us nothing. They had a natural resource of oil. The Irish had potatoes. Well, okay, that's pure luck. Apart from that, what have they given us? The world. It's almost. Have you ever seen Monty Python? Mm-hmm. What have the Romans ever given us? Roads. Yeah, okay. Apart from the roads, what have they given us? Plumbing. Okay, apart from the roads and the list goes on and on and on. Well, that's Israel. That's what Israel has given the world. It's a comedy. Seriously, sometimes when you look at it, it's a comedy. But at the same time, where I smacked my head earlier, I want to smack it against the wall. Shocking. Anyway, cheers.
No, yeah, cheers. And yeah, again, I will need to, the podcast should be 1 hour, although it was a very insightful and interesting conversation. So
You've got a lot of editing to do.
Yeah, a lot, which is good. That's our job.
We'll make 2 podcasts.
Maybe. And again, thank you very, very much, and I appreciate your time and in such a short notice.
Thanks.
Tom, it was a pleasure, and hopefully you'll continue to bounce back, as you said. You and Emily.
I'm good.
And all of everyone.
I'm good.
Everyone.
Emily's good. I hope Noah will be good. I hope the other 3 guys will be good. I hope the rest of the hostages will come out. Israel will survive this. Like they've survived every other Holocaust, massacre, attempted genocide. They will survive. Very strong people, very strong nation.
Yeah. Amen. Thank you again, Tom.
Thanks. Bye.